In this video I will show you 10 crazy World of Warcraft theories that might actually be true. Starting with, the infinite dragonflight is trying to save Azeroth and not actually destroy it. In Warcraft lore, the bronze dragonflight has always been framed as the good guys, and the infinite dragonflights as the bad guys. They have been locked in a never-ending war for time itself. The bronze dragonflight, led by the dragon Northstormu, believe that they need to preserve the one true timeline at any possible cost. Or in other words, the timeline established by the Titans. But on the other hand, the infinite dragonflight, led by the dragon Morazan, has the goal of destroying the so-called one true timeline. In the game they're portrayed as evil and chaotic attackers. But what if that was all a lie, and their true goal is to save Azeroth from a fate worse than death? And how does that tie into The Last Titan, the final expansion in the World of Soul saga? What this theory suggests that in The Last Titan, Azeroth will awaken, and it will bring the end to the entire planet and everyone living there. And the whole time, the Infinite Dragonflight was fighting against this, and knowing that from the beginning the Titan's plan was to destroy the planet and turn it into a Titan, just like them. And Northstormu, bound by the Titan's command to never ever interfere or change the timeline. But once he reaches the point when he realized the whole plan is actually to destroy the world he loves, he rebels and fights against it, with the goal of trying to stop Azeroth from turning into a Titan and destroying the planet. And that's when Northstormu turns into Morazan and decides to go back in time to try to prevent the planet from being destroyed. So the theory concludes in The Last Titan, when the awakening of the Titan is supposed to happen. Northstormu breaks from the bonds of the Titans and switches sides and becomes Morazan. And together all the players help each other by stopping Azeroth from awakening and becoming a Titan. And if the bronze dragonflight were really the good guys, why would Northstormu eventually turn against them? There must be something he does not know yet, and when it's revealed, he realizes he was on the wrong side of history all the time. Because a person does not just switch sides on a cause they have been fighting for literally their entire existence. A person does not simply say, I'm gonna betray everything my people has died for hundreds or even thousands of years, without a really good reason. And Azeroth being destroyed is a good reason to turn against the Titans. Elune is actually a Naru. Elune has always been one of the great mysteries in World of Warcraft, and players has been theorizing for decades who she actually is. She is worshipped by the Kaldorei as the goddess of the moon, light and renewal. And she has been mentioned even outside Azeroth, as far away as in the Shadowlands. And the Night Elf priests draw from her for their magic, healing and different prophecies. And yet, Elune has never appeared in game, only through whispers, dreams, miracles and different mentions by other celestial beings. In the Chronicle volumes, the cosmology of the universe suggests that light and void are primal forces existing long before the Titans and the mortal worlds. And from the light emerged the Naru, beings of holy energy capable of immense healing, destruction, and Elune's power are extremely similar to theirs. Both use light magic, communicate telepathically, and can appear anywhere they want. And there emerged the theory that she might even be the first Naru, and the rest of them are designed in her image. And the first part of evidence you can find in the game, during the Legion expansion, when Zira, the Prime Naru, refers to Elune as Sister of the Light. Yet connections run deeper than simply just being called a sister by a Naru. Elune's influence passes beyond life and death, realms normally outside the reach of the Naru, showing that she is much more powerful than the average light being. In the Shadowlands, the Night Warrior storylines offer a chilling revelation. Elune has a direct relationship with the Winter Queen, the ruler of Ardenweald, the realm of nature and rebirth, The queen calls Elune her quote-unquote sister, implying that they're both halves of a larger cosmic duality, one in charge of life and the other of death. This revelation challenges the idea of Elune being a Naru. Instead, she might be something beyond just a Naru and be a higher form of a light creature, maybe even a light version of a Void Lord. And other theorists take the theory so far they think she is the embodiment of light of the light side, and the Night Queen is the embodiment of light in the death side. Her being kind of a ruler or a queen over all the Naru, but she does not reveal herself, because if she wasn't above the Narus, why would the Night Queen specifically talk about her and not one of the other hundreds or even thousands of very powerful Narus or other light creatures? It's almost like there's something very special with Elune. The Forsaken are evolving into a new race. The faction started when Arthas released the Scourge Plague, killing the population of Lordaeron in a tragic event, cursing them all with undeath. And then they were enslaved by him. But under Sylvanas Windrunner's leadership, they actually broke free of their slavery and created their own nation, faction and people. But they were still cursed with undeath, living agonizing, torturous lives without love, happiness or anything we people take for granted. But now there are hope among the Forsaken that they will break free from this torturous life, because they have already broken free from their slavery. Now they have an opportunity to take their second step in their evolution. After Sylvanas' defection from the Horde and her eventual departure into the Shadowlands, where she is now trapped, cleaning up souls in the Maw, the Forsaken enter a new era where they have to choose a new path for themselves instead of Sylvanas' path. And a new opportunity has presented itself with Kalia Manafil, the sister of Arthas. Not only does she have the right line of succession to inherit the throne of Lordaeron, what is very special about her is that she was not revived by necromancy, but by light itself. She was not infused by not being created through an evil curse. She was infused with warmth and happiness instead of darkness and despair. Even Blightcaller Thanos once said, "The Forsaken feel everything but life." With the new entry of Kalia Manafil, the sister of Arthas, she will open a new chapter in the Forsaken story, changing them and being able to infuse light and happiness, making them less like evil creatures of the night, but more like real people. But I personally hope it doesn't happen. Let the Edgelord faction be edgy. But that's just my opinion. Anduin will become the reverse Lich King, a powerful young man raised with a light, put in a situation where the only reasonable option is to sacrifice everything to protect his kingdom. Through multiple things that felt good in the moment but was terrible long term, paved a road to hell for good intentions. Sacking and destroying Strathholm, taking Frostmourne, putting on the Helm of Domination, going so far he eventually became evil incarnate. And by the end of his life, he was everything he ceased to destroy as a young man, destroying his own kingdom, betraying the people he swore to defend, and even killing his own father, all in the pursuit of defending Azeroth. While Anduin is quite the opposite. He grew up in a quite similar situation, being the heir to the throne, but quite the opposite happened to him. He was raised in a divided family where his mom had died when he was very young. And then in Legion, his father died, fighting on the Broken Shore. He continued to fight on throughout the expansions until he reached the Shadowlands and was taken by domination magic by the jailer, being enslaved by him, where he was forced to infiltrate and kill people he actually liked. Then, after he was freed from this magic, when we killed the jailer, he became kind of an emo, rejecting the light, rejecting life, and just moping around. But now, in the War Within, he is finally regaining his connection to the light. He's now able to use light magic once again. But the theory goes, now that he's once again connected to the light, he will force himself to push himself even harder and harder to be able to defeat Xal'atath, engulfing himself in the light and becoming a light fanatic. Quite the opposite to the Lich King being taken over by death magic, he will be taken over by light magic. And just like Tyrande, the current leader of the Alliance, who sat as a regent in Stormwind while Anduin was gone. The fear continues. As midnight continues, Anduin will engulf himself, continue to infuse himself with the light until the end of midnight. And by that point, we see, to defeat the void, we destroyed ourselves, becoming as tyrannical through the light. And just like Arthas, in the last Titan expansion, we will face off against him in Northrend, where he will either realize the faults of his ways, or we will kill him! The Scourge is still around and growing in numbers. When they destroyed the Helm of Domination on top of Icecrown Citadel, they thought the Lich King's evil reign might be over, and they can finally have some peace in Northrend, calling it an end to a bad and evil era. But this event might have been worse than people anticipated. When they broke the helmet, they did not destroy the Scourge, they stopped the only person holding them back. After the defeat of Arthas, Bolvar inherited the helmet, becoming the new Lich King. And his sole mission was to hold back the Scourge and bringing safety to the rest of the world. But after Sylvanas Windrunner broke the helmet in two, removing his power and control over the Scourge, what will happen now? Some of the major speculation comes to the idea that the Scourge will become a mindless, dead horde, devouring everything it sees and wants, without even a question. But other speculation moves to a more concise idea, that the Scourge armies will start to reorganize once again, instead of everyone being led by the one true Lich King. They'll splinter up to different factions of different liches with their own goals and ambitions. But in the end, their main goal will still be to increase their numbers and destroy the living world. And they have reports from post-Shadowlands lore, activity in Icecrown is still on the rise. Like the Cult of the Damned is still on, serving no master, but still dreaming of finishing the job that Arthas started. Even groups like the Ebon Blade, sworn to watch over the ruins, has lost contact with some of their own. By the time the players once again return to Northrend in their last Titan expansion, the Scourge will have reorganized, rebuilt, and changed their plan to once again fight back against the living world. They might not be led by a person like the Lich King, various factions of liches, who are all building up their armies in secret, awaiting to one day come back and take down the world of the living, and unifying the world under one dark, undead banner, completing their former master's mission. Tyrande Whisperwind's transformation has a fragment of the void, as she goes from one of the high priestesses of Elune to the Night Warrior herself, obtaining great power, almost unmatched by any character in WoW. But going back to the start once again, she started as the High Priestess of Elune, her job being almost an embodiment of peacefulness and pacifism. But Tyrande's ascension during the War of the Thorns led to a stark shift in her character and her duties. Her calm moonlight became the dark side of the moon, her pacifism changing into vengeance, and peace into war. But what if her powers weren't just divine fury, but instead something darker, something older, deeper, and far more dangerous to everyone around her? During the Battle of Azeroth, Elune empowered Tyrande through an ancient ritual forbidden by the Sisterhood, and the power almost killed her. Even her closest allies and friends saw the power as unnatural and uncontrollable, and even dangerous to themselves. When the Kaldora invoked Elune's vengeance, they described it as a dark eclipse, not a radiant moonlight, but a devouring shadow. Just from that quote, you might be able to jump to some conclusions, but there's more than just this to enforce the evidence. And thematically, This reflects how the Naru, beings of light, also possess void states when their energy depletes. If Elune's power extend beyond simply being a Naru, as other theorists suggested, and shown through her connection to the Winter Queen in the Shadowlands, he could be a life form, both possessing the power of the void and of the light. Shown through the moon, how the moon can be all dark and all light. And as they explained, her second form is not a radiant moonlight, but a devouring shadow. Meaning, instead of infusing her with the power of the light, they infused her with the power of the void to give her the ability to destroy and kill more efficiently. And this theory tells us that the Night Warrior is Elune's void phase, a state where she bends towards entropy, destruction and death instead of rebirth and healing like the light. And Tyrande, in accepting this, she became a bridge between the light and the void. In her normal mood, possessing the power of the light, but when she becomes the Night Warrior, possessing the powers of the void. That explains why she was unstable, why she lost herself, and why Malfurion feared she would not return to who she was before. She went from a purely light and good thing to something in between, fused between the darkness and the goodness. The Titans are the real villains. For decades, the Titans have been worshipped as the architects of order. The gods who built the universe, imprisoned and destroyed chaos, the old gods, and created life across the stars. But as time has progressed, and more lore has been uncovered, we see that the Titans are not the saviors they say they are, but in fact have quite sinister motives of enslavement and control. But first, we need to tell you their core philosophy. It is simple as order above all. In the Chronicle volumes, the Titans are described as beings who bring stability to chaotic worlds, shaping them in ordered systems, aligning with their will. But their so-called stability often means the erasure of natural balance and freedom, and all other life forms besides the ones created by the Titans, like the Elemental Lords, the Old Gods, and the countless other world souls, subjugated and destroyed by them. Take Azeroth for instance. The Titans didn't save her. They tried to rewrite her instead. They didn't destroy the Old Gods outright, because doing that would risk damaging the planet. Not because they didn't want to. Not because they valued life, but they valued their investment in a future Titan through the world soul. And the Titans were ready to kill all life on the planet if it meant not risking the corruption of the world soul, as we could see in Ulduar. And the same thing goes with Sigurus. He didn't rebel against order. He has realized that the Titans were hypocrites. He realized the only way to bring true order to the universe is to simply wipe out everyone who isn't a slave to them. And for every expansion since Dragonflight, we have been moving in this direction, showing more evidence that the Titans weren't actually good guys. They didn't want the best will for the WoW players. From all the way back in Ulduar, where the Titans just planned on wiping out the whole planet, to newer things like in War Within, where the entire zone was pretty much built just for one purpose, and that was infusing the world soul with order magic. And we can also not forget, the reason the players exist in this world is because they are disobeying the Titans, because before that, everyone was created as a stone creature, the curse of the flesh, giving us free will, giving us agency instead of simply being a slave. Because originally, the Titans did not plan on creating conscious and sentient life on the planet. They simply wanted it as an outpost to slowly convert the world soul into a Titan, where at that point the Titan would be born and the whole planet and everything on it would be destroyed. But I would not describe them as evil. I would just say totally different interests in mind, completely misaligning with the players. But in the end of the day, it doesn't matter if they're evil or good. What matters if there's a friend or a foe, and evidently, from their quite open interest in turning the planet into a Titan, in their open interest in saying We did not create humans, they created stone creatures, which then got granted free will against their knowledge, and the only time we worked together was because we had aligning interests. And on that, the Titans have never presented themselves as our friends, as our allies, as people who have our best interest in mind. And from the beginning, they have shown quite the opposite, with the whole wiping all life off the planet part, if you remember Old War. The old gods never truly died. When players defeat the old gods in Warcraft throughout the story, in Classic, in Wrath of the Lich King, and in Battle for Azeroth, people assumed they were actually dead and would not return. But that might not be true. What we killed were just small physical avatars of the larger old god. And they are alive somewhere, but they're alive somewhere, lurking and waiting for a good time to return. And the first piece of evidence comes directly from the Titans themselves, that killing the old gods outright would destroy the planet itself. That's why they never removed them. The old gods are so intertwined with World Soul that removing them would damage it beyond repair. That's why they lock them up in places like Old War, for example. They are parasitic by design. They latch on and creep in as deep as physically possible to not be removed. That means the old gods are not just the tentacled monster we fight in the raid, but the true being is metaphysical. If not, the physical body is alive, the spirit of the old god is still somewhere lurking in the depths of Azeroth. That's why killing K'Vuun or Yogg-Saron did not create a Titan-grade shockwave across the planet and destroying it. We just destroyed the physical body of the old god, not the soul, the spirit, or even other parts of it. Just this small, limited thing. Because as we know in the lore, the part of the Titan we killed isn't the entire thing. It is ginormous, hidden under everything. That is the reason why there are so many remnants. That's why people are still being corrupted by the old gods, that their magic is still working, that their creatures they created are still alive. Because they did not kill the old gods, they simply destroyed their physical form. And then comes Nisaf, is able to see the future, and somehow, some why, decides to die just like that. Quite obviously, he has a deeper plan behind us all. So they did not really die. Their real souls are deeply embedded in the soul of the planet, hiding and lurking. Another opportunity presents itself, and they will once again return. The Void Lords have already won. This is one of the darkest and most far-reaching theories in the Warcraft universe. The Void Lords have already succeeded, not by destroying reality, but by quietly manipulating its most important events from the beginning. The Void is not a force of brute strength. Its greatest weapon is time, knowledge, and waiting. Because over a span of 1,000, 10,000, a million years, there will come an opportunity and they will seize it. Because over enough time, with infinite opportunities, one of them will be successful. The old gods and the Void Lords reached the planet first, embedding themselves, building their dark empires, whispering and manipulating the soul. And only after they were embedded in the planet did the Titans arrive. And the reason they're on the planet is to merely contain it. Because they know if the World Soul woke up, it would become a Void Lord. And there have been tons of evidence throughout the lore how all the creatures on the planet has become corrupted and has rebelled against the Titans. Every single time. From the Curse of Flesh, among the Titan Watchers. Every attempt in containing the planet has ended with the corruption of the people trying to contain it. And the usual suspect is the Void. And throughout the story, like Nisaf's death, implying that there's nothing we can do to stop them. When he said, "You're not worthy of witnessing what's to come." And combining it with the previous theory, you could even say, what if the old gods purposely killed themselves? So their souls could be absorbed by Azeroth, knowing it's their time to go in a final effort to turn Azeroth to the Void. And with every death of a Titan, the Forge Origination, the Titan systems holding the World Soul back has been breaking down, because they know soon it will wake up. And the whole time, the Titans were trying to stop Azeroth from becoming corrupted by the Titans, trying to save it from becoming another Void Lord. But by the time they had arrived, it was already too late. Neither the Void, the Titans, or the Light is our friend. Throughout the story, we have always been fed one singular message. The Light and the Titans are our friends, and the Void is our enemy. Void arrived first on the planet, but evidence throughout the entire thing has shown us that the Titans don't really like us. By simply looking at the time in Old War where they tried to kill the entire planet, the fact that we were not created by purpose but accidentally released by the Void for the curse of the flesh. And the Titans hasn't really communicated to the humans ever, and simply left us on the planet to be watched over by the Titan Watchers for the eventual goal of turning Azeroth into another Titan. But from all this evidence, you might assume, maybe the Titans aren't our friends. But how about the Void? Looking at the people they sent, the old gods, Sichung, Natharath, and Yogg-Saron, openly said that they want to enslave the planet, and a lot of theorists say that their goal is to turn Azeroth into another Void Lord, and their various attempts to kill, corrupt, and destroy the different humans. From there, we can come to the only reasonable conclusion. Neither the Titans or the Void like us actually, and they're both trying to kill us for the end goal of turning Azeroth into a Titan or a Void Lord in their benefit, and the only time they help us is to simply make the situation worse for the opposite faction. We are simply one pawn in their giant cosmic game of chess. These were the 10 theories. If you like them, subscribe and comment your personal theory about World of Warcraft.